No, that was Sherry.
I was like, not that we can't hear Jerry back here. No, not. I am. Sorry. You shouldn't have. Let me switch, you know, I want to be the shortcut.
See? I tell you. See? I told you. He likes it. All right, call this meeting order at 7:01, please, and we could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have a new planning commission member, so Rose, if you would stand.
No, you know what?
Swear you.
Done reading, you can just say I do already. I, Harrison Owens, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Michigan, the City Charter and Code of Ordinances of the City of Cedar Springs, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of planning commission member according to my abilities.
I do.
Roll call, Mr. Bray.
Here.
Mrs. River.
Here.
Mr. Conley.
Here.
Mr. Hall.
Here.
Mr. McGrath.
Here.
Mr. Dabrowski. Mr. Nixon.
Here.
Mr. Owens.
Here.
And, yeah, Mr. Owens is here. We also have Mr. Johnson, Mr. Womack, Mrs. Johnson, taking care of all of the really important stuff over there. For the minutes, the packet that was sent out to us did not have a draft copy of the January 8th minutes. So we will just wait until our April meeting and we'll approve both the January minutes and this evening's minutes as well. So just look for both of those in your packet that you get for next month. If you take a look at the agenda, please. We have a motion to approve our agenda for this evening. Any discussion on that? All in favor of approving the agenda, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Public comments. If Rose or any other people that are here would like to address us.
I didn't know how we should do it now or later. But
Now is your big moment.
Now's my big moment. Okay.
4 minutes.
Wow.
I don't know. I've talked with Mike about this several times, and my concern is some words from our our old zoning has disappeared, and he has explained to me that just because they're gone, it's okay that these things will still be permitted. And the words that were used to be in the B3, the B2 uses permitted was restaurants and other retail food establishments which permit the consumption of alcoholic beverages on the premises or which permit dancing or live entertainment. And that disappeared from the B2 zone. And then that was also allowed in the B3 in the special land use, and that's gone too. But he reassures me that if it's a restaurant, that it can do those things, but I'm just concerned. Also, we have to consider the fact that the hotel motel is, the plan was to have a small bar, maybe a 20-person bar, and there's always the chance that they might have some live entertainment in there, if grandson playing a guitar for grandpa and grandma for their anniversary waltz or something. I want to make sure that that sort of thing is permitted there. Also, in a mixed-use area, along the trail, there's opportunities for someone to come in for to build a cafe, restaurant-type gathering, where there might also be beer, wine, alcohol, where they might have a band in the evening and some dancing. So I want it to be on the record and in public that if these restaurants were to open up in these areas, that it would be permitted for them to have their alcohol. If they have alcohol, it would be permitted for them to have live entertainment and dancing. And that's my only real concern, and I guess it's up to you folks to figure it out.
Thank you. Seeing no other public comments, any folks, any conflicts of interest or ex parte communication that you need to report to the rest of the body? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on. We do not have any public hearings this month, but just heads up, we will for the next couple of months, so get ready for those. So let's move to our new business, page 4 in your packet, and then page 5 are some recommendations from our city planner and our city manager of some possible things that we need to work on. So just like as we have this last year, when we have some time to work it into our agenda to be able to look at some things and review them, there is a couple of items here that they have suggested. And so what I'd like for us to do this evening is just give Mr. Womack and Mr. Johnson a sense of the items that we would like to kind of prioritize so those can get on our agenda sooner, and make sure that we're addressing those things that are of greater interest to us right up front, not pushing them down the road too far. So any thoughts on either one of those memos that they gave us, page 4 and page 5 in your packet, of what you'd like to see as a priority? Yeah, go ahead.
I think the outdoor storage and the waste receptacles are things that we could do quite quickly and get those off the list. I agree with the, excuse me, the dumpster enclosures. Sorry. I looked up online and there are other options that would be much cheaper for businesses and they look really nice. So, those are two that I was interested in.
Okay. I think one that I'd like to see up near the top is the things that we talked about along the White Pine Trail, especially as we make some of the zoning changes. We want to make sure that we're accommodating some of the trail-friendly things that we'd like to see.
I think number 4 would fall into that, outdoor dining areas, and would that include dancing or music? We seem to always have a problem with that. And with the spring coming and future businesses, hopefully, that would be a concern, especially with the new amphitheater.
What about the White Pine overlay?
Yeah, that's what we're
Is that
talking about, you know,
okay.
kind of along there and then possibly an overlay
Okay.
as well.
Yeah, then section 4, the outside seating in front of businesses, I guess. The DDA is trying and moving forward to putting benches out in front of businesses. Ideally, there's the city right away is where these benches would lie on. There's only about a foot to maybe 18 inches of property over in the front of the building, so where do you put them and how, so you don't impede traffic, pedestrian traffic, bicycles. There's just things to deal with.
Okay. Any other thoughts on what did you want to see it near the top of the list, or get to it as soon as we can.
Special land uses.
So coming up with the standards for those.
Or the standards for the RV parking,
No,
side yard.
oh,
So,
That there's another thing that's kind of went to the wayside. We need to amend the ordinance or have them enforce it. It's kind of on hold now.
I think that kind of goes along with outdoor storage.
Yes. But that's, I think the big, is two separate entities, you know, a mobile home travel trailer versus boat, snowmobile. And we need to maybe define which is and what isn't allowed.
I researched 4 different communities, and they all have allowances for parking and storage of campers
Yes.
and your property. 2 allow the equipment to be used for living and housekeeping purposes for a period of 14 to 15 days in a calendar year. I would imagine that's if you had company come,
Out of town?
as long as it wasn't connected to water and sewer. And it didn't say anything about electricity, so it didn't have lights on. 3 prohibited locating the equipment in the front yard, but there were temporary allowances for cleaning and loading and loading common sense things. And then 1 required the equipment to have a current license or registration if applicable and be owned by the occupant or owner of the premises or an immediate family member. So, I looked at Sparta, Rockford, Greenville, and Comstock Park.
So they're all local.
Well, yeah, that's what I looked at them.
Ms. Bremer, it might be best for you to submit those to me, so I can look at them the same as you are. Kind of,
so you think RVs would go, you want to do that under the outdoor storage, like the ones?
well, so the city's outdoor storage actually only addresses RVs and trailers and things like that. I sure would like to kind of meld that together with, can't have a, pile of stuff in your front lawn too. But as the mayor was saying, we've been bumping up against outdoor storage of RVs in the city. So it's one of those things that's going to need to be taken a look at, whereas what the local community wants to allow.
In all 4 of those communities, they have allowances for parking and storage of campers, travel trailers, boats, and similar items in any zoning district on lots used for residential purposes with certain restrictions. Sparta's was a little confusing for me. I can just give it to you.
Unfortunately, these certain restrictions are where the rubber meets the road, right?
Well, it was setbacks, you have to be 3 feet from the side of your neighbor's property and that sort of thing.
Sure.
Things that we've talked about before.
When we put our ordinance, it had to be in the side yard and it couldn't extend into the front. It could be parked into the rear or side yard, but it couldn't be in the front. That was when we were going, and I don't recall what we ended up with.
I'm pretty sure that's what the law says, but it's been completely unworkable.
Yeah. Well, here's our chance. Do we define just RVs and just other stuff? But mainly to separate the RVs from the boats and the snowmobiles.
Right, well, I think we can get to that when we have that discussion. Tonight, we just want to come up with a priority list for them so that they can start putting it on, giving us the information to have those discussions. Okay, so what I've heard is, in no particular order, special land use, White Pine Trail, outdoor storage, dumpsters, and the outdoor dining and seating things as being kind of the priorities.
Not necessarily in that order.
That's what I said.
Start with, and then we can always come back to that,
Right.
what the next priorities are.
Given that we might have some upcoming businesses along White Creek, maybe talking about residential, non-residential design requirements would be good to have sooner than later.
Mm-hmm. you guys started on
Sure.
this and start putting it in our packet as we go along? So, just as long as we're not having like, 4-hour meetings, so.
Why not?
Try to put them in the spots where we don't have a whole lot of other stuff going on.
You got nothing else to do in the work.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great thing.
That one meeting is just a work meeting.
Well, possibility, but I mean, we sometimes get site plans too, that, so I don't think that they, an applicant wants us to, push theirs down the road because we're having a lengthy work meeting, but hopefully we'll have some months here that we don't have as much of that other business and we can knock out some of these work things. All right, page 6 in your packet, possible language to regulate principal uses on a lot. There's some current language and some changes there. Mr. Johnson, you want to walk us through some of those things?
Sure. Mike contacted me some weeks ago about how many uses you could have on a lot, and your ordinance doesn't really say that. That's a common set of rules you find in most zoning ordinances, how many, you can only have one principal use per lot. But your ordinance doesn't really have that, so that's on the second page of my handout. So we're proposing to add that, but as you back up, we thought it would be important to also change some of the definitions that are found in that section, and just kind of put a little finer point on some other ones, such as what is an accessory use, what is an accessory building or structure. So I've offered you some new definitions of those that are pretty close to the same, but there's some key differences in there about, for instance, accessory use. We added the term customarily associated with. To me, that makes it a little more clear as to what an accessory use is. Same thing with accessory building or structure. So if you're going to regulate things, you have to properly define them. We also added what a principal use is, and then a number of those terms found their way into the last page, section 40-471. Principal building and principal use per parcel. You can only have one principal building or use except for groups of related commercial, industrial, and office buildings or multifamily buildings that are kind of a unified together. Strip malls, an example. Apartment buildings, another example. You may find a car wash that's separated from the gas station building. Are common things you find out there. And then the last sentence there says you can have more than one special land use on a parcel. Each of those would have to be approved by the planning commission. But again, you're looking at do they relate and do they kind of form an integrated use together and work together. So the proof's in the pudding. I guess I would invite your comments on the definitions, because if you don't understand or if you don't think it's any better, then we need to adjust things.
I think incidental and subordinate both mean basically the same thing, less or secondary. I think I'd like to see the language shortened up a little bit, because I mean, it sounds redundant.
It is.
Okay.
and
By design, I think.
Yeah, right. Because, I'm not an attorney, but I have given birth to one. He's an attorney now, but he wasn't at the time. And I work with a lot of attorneys, and they tend to pick things apart to their advantage. So sometimes the more things you can put in there in terms of definition, it gives you a little more protection in terms of the defensive posture if you ever have to go to court. So.
I thought maybe Mike made up that sentence.
So.
I very easily could have though, but yeah, I agree, it's sometimes more is better.
Okay, as far as the principal building and having just one principal building on property, what about as the population gets older, what if someone wanted a mother-in-law's?
The ordinance would have to specifically allow that.
It's not currently permitted because you can't have a residence inside an accessory building.
They would have to be connected to each other, really.
We actually did have somebody approach the city with that exact scenario, and I said it's way better to just add on to your house.
What if you didn't want your mother-in-law that close? Just a thought.
She's only gonna be there a short time, and then when you sell it, you get more money.
So if I could just interject for half a second, this is actually a big problem, what we're talking about here. Just about every single developer that comes into the city wants to have multiple uses for each property. A good recent example is the car lot just south of the Wesco, which has been now abandoned for quite some time. I had a developer say that he would like to have a barber shop in the building and a used car lot out in the parking lot. And I said, where are you gonna sell the cars from? And the assumption was that they would go to a coffee shop or something to finalize the deal. But a barber shop and a used car dealership on the same piece of property. So it gets extreme. They try to put as many uses as they think can be profitable on one location, and that can cause problems for us.
Thank you.
Any other questions or observations on this?
I think to go to a special land use for an additional parcel, for an additional function of that parcel is the way to go. That way, there's controls, there's checks and balances. If we deny them, they still have the right to go to the ZBA.
So, I have a question. On the piece of property right next to, it used to be Saturn Tire. The guy put up that accessory building right across from the garage there, the snowplow business. If we put this into effect, does that grandfather that in since he put that in?
No, he
Or
still does not have approval for that.
Right, so he's still gotta get a special land use for that, correct?
Well, that would be an accessory building to his business. So his business would be pushing snow and
Right.
the accessory use is for storage of the salt.
Okay, so now I understand, thank you. So as long as it has a purpose and it is joint with the business,
There's got to be some kind of relationship between the uses.
thank you.
At least that's my understanding.
Do the relationships have to be defined by something that we have in writing in order to be valid as relationships?
Give an example.
No, it just occurred to me that one person's relationship is another person's not a relationship. But I don't know if there was a way that was handled within ordinances.
I'd imagine a zoning administrator would probably have final say, and of course I'm open to being told that I'm, wrong, but they have to convince me.
You like that about you, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's more of a hypothetical. I don't have an example. I just put it in the.
Yeah, and this is one of those situations, I forget, was it Brandeis who says, I know it when I see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you raise a good point, because if in the commercial zoning district, if these two uses are both permitted in that zoning district, then you might say, well, why can't I have them both on the same property? I own both of them. I have an ice cream shop, and I have a used car lot. And I own both of them. There's room for it. I have the right amount of parking. They're both permitted uses. Why can't I do both of them? And the answer is,
One use per property.
one use per property. That's what the ordinance says, right, good. But then you go to the language that we're adding here, that they have to be, it says they share parking, signs, utilities, other similar, and they form a unified function and appearance. If I'm the same owner, that's pretty unified. I think, and this is common language in every ordinance I've ever read or changed. And you really have to get down to, well, what's really wrong with having two principal uses on the same property? Well, what could go wrong is at some point in time, I want to sell that ice cream shop. And all of a sudden, the parking is on over here on the other property. I have to get across easement, or I want to split the lot off for the ice cream shop, and I don't have enough land. So I have to come in for a variance. And when I come in for a variance, I'm going to say, well, the city let me put them both here. Why wouldn't you let me split them? What's wrong with that?
And that currently exists in multiple places in the city as well.
See it much more clearly than I do it that way.
Things can go wrong. And I think most of the time we got into the ordinance because you didn't want to have two houses on a lot, because then you can have really more issues when you have two houses on the same property and the two owners don't get along, or the two renters don't get along. And then you can't get a mortgage and you split it off, so I think that's how it found its way into zoning ordinances in the first place, but it carried over to commercial and more commercial properties. And you really have to understand, take into account, well, what's wrong with that? And if you can't find a reason that there's nothing wrong with it, then you should allow it. But there are some things that could go wrong. So,
I think in our ordinances too, only one business per water and sewer hookup also. They can't share a line. Two businesses share a line.
That's a huge problem too.
That's a huge problem. So, we can create more. I think it's great the way it is.
New language.
Yes, 40-47, the new added section.
I'm also just, sorry, I'm just not noticing that John and Dale need to switch their nameplates, or they can get up and move each other's seats.
I'm
Lisa.
Anyway.
All right, any other thoughts on principal use?
I think the proposed change will fix any issues that might arise. I think that that's clear enough.
Well, I like land use too, so we can.
So, Mr. Owens, the planner indicated we might want to set a public hearing date if we're going to change this by ordinance.
Yep.
If the body's satisfied with the
Right, if you guys are good with what Mr. Johnson put together, we could put that on as a public hearing for next month. Let's try to make some, look, review it again, so otherwise, April. Okay, so put that on as a public hearing. All right. Then, page 8 in your packet, possible new language for parking standards. They'll walk us through that again.
yeah, this is kind of a collaboration between the city manager and myself. We're trying to come up with some flexible language to allow planning commissions to allow impervious parking or gravel parking in certain situations. You have that now under the current language in the second paragraph there, where it says the planning commission may allow waivers in the second paragraph, second sentence, from the parking surface, drainage, setback, and location requirements of this article, where it finds that due to the nature of the particular use, said requirements will not be adequate to provide sufficient parking. And I never quite understood that. The term is not adequate. To me, it's kind of vague. It allows the planning commission to vary the surface, drainage, setback, and location, which maybe is more authority than you want. And again, I don't think it's not precise enough to allow for good administration. Then under the next paragraph, parking area design standards, we kept most of that, and then changed it into some new language, where we kept the same language for if you have a fractional space when you come up with the parking, then it's counted as one additional space. We kept that. We kept number 1, that all parking areas have to be hard surface with pavement, having asphalt or concrete binder. Number 2, at the bottom of the page, we kept that, and the new language is the language I guess we want you to focus on here, that it says in order to reduce the amount of impervious surface, corresponding stormwater runoff, and reduce heat given off by paved surfaces, the planning commission may approve alternate parking lot surfaces, which are dustless, used for overflow parking, employee parking, maneuvering areas, for loading, or parking for trucks and similar heavy equipment. Those surfaces may be gravel, crushed stone, or crushed concrete, and the commission can allow permeable surfacing materials. One thing you'll notice in here is that in the new language, it says that it's for employee parking or truck maneuvering or that sort of thing. It says nothing about customer parking. And that's really where your current language kind of fails. It doesn't really say. It allows you to let any new use that comes into town have a gravel parking lot service for customers, which you really don't want to do. But some of the planning commission that sits up there may decide they do want to do that. So I think if you're going to allow a dustless surface that's not asphalt or concrete, it probably should just be employees parking, either for overflow or if they have large trucks and they don't want to break up the asphalt all the time and it's out back, then why shouldn't they be allowed to have a crushed concrete or some kind of dustless surface like that? So that's the intent of this, and all the other sections really stay the same. And what it does, it focuses what you can change in a parking lot. Whereas right now, you can change the drainage, you can change the setback and the location, which maybe gives you too much arbitrariness there. Any comments? Makes sense? Makes sense to the city manager?
Yeah, I wonder if we should add municipal parking lots in there.
Well, you certainly could.
There is thoughts about putting a parking lot at Second and Maple, and it would be substantially cheaper for the city, with the expectation to eventually asphalt it over when funding was available. But the intention was to make it a crushed concrete parking lot for the time being. Now, are we getting rid of the language then that gives the planning commission the option to give waivers for some of this stuff? Give waivers for the asphalt or concrete binder?
Yes, if under those circumstances listed there. Overflow parking, employee parking, that sort of thing. It specifically does not mention customer parking or client parking.
I don't know, does the city have customers or clients?
So
Every citizen out there is a customer of the city.
are you talking about Second and Maple where they're gonna be putting in the amphitheater and all that?
Yep. This will be on the southwest corner, but of course,
Wouldn't that be overflow parking, which it totally states, because we have the parking down by the trail, the new parking there, we have parking on the streets right there, that would be overflow parking. Or if they're bringing in a band or something, that's going to be loading and unloading activities. So I think that falls in.
I think the good thing about what we're doing right now is you guys get to make that decision. And so if a site plan was brought to you for that parking lot, which was made out of crushed concrete, would you, with the city planner, declare that to be overflow parking? But at this point in time, you are able to, if you want to, recommend that we add municipal parking lots to this list. If that's something the planning commission wants to see.
Now, your definition of asphalt and concrete binder,
That's in the current ordinance.
what does that definition mean? Ground concrete, ground milled blacktop? It's binder.
Yeah, I kept the word binder in there, but to me, I'm not sure what that really means. When it says binder, it could just say asphalt or concrete. I'm not sure why binder's in there.
I think binder, because that's my industry, is the stuff that makes it glue together. And so milled is being recycled, but it's also being remixed with the binder. Right.
So then you could use recycled concrete or recycled asphalt with the binder, instead of the binder.
No,
It's remixed and basically
Interpretation.
I guess you could look at it that way.
so the planning commission would be the one interpreting it. So I guess that's the question for you now, if you wanted to head this off in the future, whether you wanted to change the language or up to you guys.
I think the fact that we're defining it as hard surface, making it not in that particular instance, the crushed product, it's saying it's a hard surface with pavement, having asphalt or concrete binding it together to form the hard surface.
Then you get into permeable
surfaces.
And it seems to me that's defined as opposed to permeable surfaces.
I'm just, clarification.
Well, so I think with Mr. Conley that in the first instance, it says hard surface with asphalt or concrete binder, which would be a hard surface. But then in 3, you allow a softer surface of gravel, crushed stone, or concrete. The only question I have is right now it seems to only permit those for overflow parking, employee parking, or maneuvering areas. And I guess the city's question is, does the planning commission want to allow municipal parking lots to be included in that as well or not?
And does this in any way, does this language negate the municipal?
Well, no, as I understand it, Mr. Johnson can correct me, but as the language currently is read, it would require that a municipal parking lot would be required to have pavement made of asphalt or concrete.
And the sidewalk.
I wouldn't have any problem with adding municipal in there because Cedar Springs, we have enough runoff in our patch right now.
Yeah.
We had some that, didn't add to that problem, that might help. I don't know.
If it's necessary to allow it, I'd be more than happy to add that language. It just wasn't clear to me if it was necessary.
I think it is, Mr. Johnson, that's your interpretation. If the city were to create a municipal parking lot under the current language, would it be required to be hard surfaced with asphalt or concrete, or would it fall under the reduced requirements of number 3?
Under the current language, the planning commission may allow waivers from the parking lot surface. So you have free reign to allow anything you want for any parking lot at any.
So the city's lots would be under the same criteria as an outlot for a business. This planning commission could waiver the hard surface and let them do a permeable.
Yeah, you could.
It's fair for everybody.
Let me ask you a question. So the proposed language,
Okay.
would that also allow the same scenario?
No. It would not. I think some things that you might want to change that occurred to me as we're talking is overflow parking really should say overflow parking on the same lot as the principal use, not somewhere else in town. If you want to add municipal parking lots, maybe you want to say something like civic use or something, subject to site plan review, just so when it says municipal, it's like you're granting yourself a special favor, okay? But in the long run, the city doesn't have to follow its own zoning ordinance, okay? If the city council doesn't want to pave the parking lot, then they don't have to pave the parking lot. They can put in gravel. We don't need the zoning ordinance to tell them that's okay. It looks better, but you don't have to follow your own zoning ordinance.
I think they should, so.
There's that aspect of it, yeah. But there's monetary concerns and other things that may come into play there. But we could certainly have some language that makes it, maybe you want to allow crushed gravel or something for a civic use such as the parking lot or the band shell, things like that. That we could write in there civic or municipal uses that would be subject to planning commission approval. That gives you a little more latitude, a little more direction. You're not out on the end of a limb. It gives you this better direction and more legal support for that. So we could certainly add that. We can cover that up.
I think I like that a lot. Yeah. And almost corollary to that, another municipal parking use, I mean, we have parks in town already that have gravel parking, and it's pretty accepted at the moment. I don't see that.
Parks is a good example.
We have parking lots that are almost gravel.
Mr. Owens, just from a process point of view, now that we've kind of changed some of the language, does the board want to see that language back next month? Do you want the planner to take your comments, write up the new language, and then I could submit that as part of an ordinance?
Yeah, I think we right, everybody's kind of, you understand what we're putting in there, so I don't think we have to look at it again.
Okay, so you still want to set, sorry, do we want to set a public hearing?
Yeah, I think we can do that one as well. 'Cause we're not really changing that much from what's already been presented there, so. Can we do that one in April as well? All right, turning our attention to old business, at page 10, this is materials that we have seen for a long time. What we have here is the yearly final version. So we need to go through this to tweak anything or address anything that we want to, so that, once again, we need to have a public hearing on this, so that then we can send it on to city council. So we're not really kind of, I think we've spent, I don't know how many months, I haven't really got track, but we're not really trying to pick this apart tonight. We're just kind of looking to make sure that all the changes that we have discussed and think are important to be in there, that those are all in there. Mr. Womack, do you want to address I think you have it in your memo as well, but as Paul brought up about.
Sure,
the
so,
things that you agree.
I didn't hear all of the public comments, I apologize for that. I do have two specific notes regarding things that both Ms. Powell and another citizen wanted me to address. One of which was regarding restaurants that allow alcohol and dancing and live entertainment. That was the previous language that was in the old ordinance. Our recommendation is to remove the language regarding dancing and live entertainment and simply allow restaurants. Ms. Powell's concerns seem to be that we are trying to make it so that you can't have alcohol or dancing or live entertainment. When in reality, we're doing the opposite. We're just saying any restaurant, whether it has alcohol or not, whether it has dancing or not, whether it has live entertainment or not. So that those are not restrictions anymore. Instead, it's just one open category of any type of restaurant. So that's my understanding. Mr. Johnson, is that similar to what you understand? Okay.
It is, yes. We can, it's not an issue to add that language, just so there's no misunderstanding. It's pretty easy to put that back in, if the commission would like us to do that.
But if the definition of restaurant already allows it,
Where is the definition of restaurant?
Maybe the most efficient way to handle it is if we can ensure that the definition of restaurant
It's allowed in town.
incorporates that. Unfortunately, we do not have a definition of restaurant, but I know it when I see it.
Restaurants, coffee, bakeries, or similar retail food establishments, including those with walk-up, drive-up windows, but not. That's on page 20H. Outdoor dining is permitted in accordance with section, this is the two, outdoor dining may be permitted. Doesn't say anything about dancing. You can't put your neighborhood anywhere.
I guess just my concern is if we say restaurants and then we list a couple of things, do we have to start thinking through every possible thing that could go into a restaurant and list all of those? Invariably, we're gonna miss something. If we put a restaurant in and they wanna have dancing in there, then they have dancing in there. I mean, I don't think we really regulate what goes on inside. Are we, unless unless we want to come up with a really long list of everything that can,
Well, yeah, and so are we gonna now have a new category of restaurants that allow billiards?
right?
About restaurants that allow board games?
Is there any language anywhere that denies dancing or live entertainment?
Yes.
So we can be clear.
An adult cabaret, nightclub, bar, restaurant, that persons who appear in a state of nudity is not permitted.
All.
Well, then,
Sorry, I just did a quick search for restaurant and I happened to show up.
So, I appreciate the comment, now we're covered. But,
What if there's a bar that doesn't serve food? Is that considered a restaurant?
bar,
That's a bar,
Tavern.
or tavern, I think that's a
They
different.
define, restaurant by how much money they make on food versus alcohol. The state makes it on this, and it's supposed to have a sign here. $10 million.
Okay, then do we have a category for bar, for tap?
Wouldn't that still be considered under a retail food establishment? It is a consumable material, so I think that falls under food still.
Sure, we can. Anything you want.
correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean,
See where you're getting into.
I know, I'm just asking.
we've had a bunch of discussions. At the time when we struck that, it was because we thought the language was kind of antiquated, because who's seeking to stop dancing these days? That, to me, that was the, so why give it the credence that that's something we're trying to avoid? So we're just gonna strike that out of there, because of course it's allowed, and we're just not gonna mention it. I think that's where we were coming from, if I remember correctly.
Yep. I agree.
So that was not the intent, and it's sort of a recognition to,
So, I'm reading through the B2, where, let's see, subsection H. Restaurants, coffee shops, bakeries, and similar retail food establishments. I mean, I don't see why we couldn't just add the word bar in there. I think bar is commonly understood to be a place that serves primarily alcohol. Now, there is brew pubs, but I believe the definition of brew pub includes food.
Well, it also clarifies that they were on site as well.
Yeah, so it's alcohol that's brewed on the premises. So, a bar that sells domestic beer or import beer, and brew it yourself.
Well, I think the conversation started when we were combining these uses in the table. If you go back and look at the current language, we have, in our table of uses, we have restaurants which provide food or drink for consumption on the premises. And then there's another category that says restaurants not permitting dancing, live entertainment, or the consumption of alcoholic beverages. So the current ordinance makes a distinction between the two. And so I think we just finally said, we're not going to make that distinction, we're just going to call them restaurants.
I think the language as it stands is a good way to have everything filled out. That gives up, I mean, we're gonna approve any site plans to put in a new restaurant. I think once we've approved the restaurant, we shouldn't be in the business of regulating what they can do inside their restaurant. Obviously, unless it's like a strip club or something like that, then that's a whole different story. But as far as normal restaurant operation goes, I think that they can do as they wish within the building.
Well, that's more of a liquor control commission question, really, but, yeah, I tend to agree with you that the commercial difference between a sit-down restaurant and a sit-down bar is very minimal once they're inside the building. Now, if they're spilling outside into the building, outside, maybe that's a different story, but then we can address that with noise restrictions, other restrictions. But I think restaurants encompass bar, but if the spot would feel more comfortable, we could do bar and restaurant. restaurant and bar.
Sure, I think you put the word bar in there, just to make sure.
Mr. Johnson, do you have any concerns or questions or anything about that?
You could use the bar, use the word bar or tavern.
Do you have a preference?
Tavern.
Is tavern okay with the board? So we'll add a tavern to restaurants under 40-93H, which then automatically is then permitted in the B3 district as well.
And you want to make sure it's allowed in mixed-use district.
Mixed use district for alcohol?
Well, it's a good time to talk about
Yeah.
that. Did you want to add that same language in the we have that same language in the mixed-use district right now for restaurants.
Yeah, what it is, restaurant, shopping, fees, or food services.
Same language, you said that.
Just my concern with that in the mixed use district is the mixed use district has single family residences mixed in with it. I think the intent was to allow professional type services that don't go to all hours of the night, don't fall out into the sidewalk.
If we avoided the R definition inside the mixed use or the tavern definition of mixed use, but we still wanted to perhaps allow a Wi-Fi trail, would that be kind of the Wi-Fi trail overlay we were talking about?
Yes.
If we decided to do that.
The language tavern under H, restaurants, coffee shop, and so on. That means that it could just be standalone tavern? How many taverns do you want to have?
Well, and do we want them in that neighborhood? Because those are single family homes. And we do get complaints from single family homes are close to the bars and restaurants already. I would personally be against it.
That is mixed use.
It's such a small area, and it is to the south end of Main Street, into the west, it's a small squatter next to the west. It's not quite 5. Could be either, no, you wouldn't want to do a special use for that in the mixed use.
For a tavern?
Correct, or a brew pub, more than likely it'll be a brew pub or some tasting room cider or alcohol or, you know, the state is gonna control who gets one or where it goes with the liquor license.
I think you just keep those in the B2 and B3 and not worry about the mixed use doing that because there's other things that we were discussing with the mixed use versus things that, I mean, we've got places for alcohol. I don't think we need the whole city covered under where you can consume alcohol or purchase alcohol, I should say.
I'd be fine with focusing that into.
So the other concern that was brought to me was in regards to language that we had taken out of the B2 district. Establishments which produce alcohol beverages primarily for distribution off-site and also engage in a certain number of other activities as a small portion of their sales. Retail sale of alcoholic beverages on site to the general public, conducting tours of the facility, and retail sale of items such as glasses, posters, and clothing. So as I understand it, that language was removed from the B2 district and placed into the industrial district. And keeping in mind that the industrial district is likely to expand in the near future. Two citizens approached me on this one, and they were concerned, but I believe the alternative that they were asking for was to, instead of allowing it in the B2 district, to allow it into the B3 district instead. And this board might want to consider making a special land use if they want to permit it in the B3 district. So essentially allowing production of alcohol, but not as a restaurant.
It should be in the industrial.
Yeah, I think that's the industrial.
Yeah, I would keep it industrial, I wouldn't move it to B3. I wouldn't tie up land in the B3 that, I mean, we've got people that are already concerned with living in B2 close, or in MU, being close to the pubs and stuff, and then you got people residential, and people don't want to see that type of stuff as they're pulling into town too.
Well, the benefit of the B3 district is that it is a more pure commercial district compared to the B2 or MU districts. The B3 is primarily the area north of, was it Maple?
Sure.
Up to 18th mile on Main. And then there's also discussion about the area surrounding the car wash, Green Acres, and the landscaping place on the south end of town becoming B3. And of course, there are a number of empty buildings in that district. So it is a prime location that people are considering for this type of activity. But I take no position on it.
You know, in that B3, there would be no large amount of traffic impact there, and it would be, let's say, a distillery in that area, which is already B3. You'd have minimal impact, and basically, to be honest, it utilize some of that property that never gets used to nowhere. If we allowed some type of a distillery or that by special land. I don't know, that's just my.
I would be in favor of adding it as a special land use. I think just with the amount of space that's available there, we're not gonna see any like large-scale commercial brewing happening there. It's probably it would be smaller operations. I don't think that would make a significant impact to that area in terms of traffic or noise or anything like that.
You know, let's face it, everything, the trend right now is going to these micro breweries and stuff and shipping it out to the big brew houses or whatever they are.
You could even put in language saying that if that's what they want to do, then they have to have like maybe some kind of an attractive storefront, like have a tasting room in the front or something like that, something so it doesn't just look like an industrial building sitting there.
Well, you don't want to do that because then that adds on, like, now they've got to have certain amount of parking spaces and blah, blah, blah. Well, if they find a piece of property that they have just enough parking spaces for their workers, you know, now they don't want to have to try to tie that up with,
That's true.
you know,
That's true.
stuff like that.
Well, the language does specifically say, produces alcohol and also engages in one or more of the following as a percentage of their sales: retail sale of alcoholic beverages on property, or retail takeout, including sale of snacks, prepackaged foods, or conducting tours, or retail sale of items such as glasses, posters, and clothing. So that would be a required aspect of this type of business anyways. I should point out, I think the hard cider tasting room